My ex yelled at our baby and assaulted me. Now what about the car? The chipped ceramic mug warmed my hands, a pathetic comfort against the chill that had settled deep in my bones. Lily was asleep, finally. It had taken 2 hours of rocking, humming a tuneless lullaby until my throat was raw. Every whimper from her felt like a fresh stab wound. Mark. Just the name felt like a dirty word in my mouth. It had started, predictably, with a phone. His. Left carelessly on the kitchen counter, buzzing with a name I didn't recognize. Chloe. Curiosity, or maybe a desperate subconscious desire to confirm my growing unease, had overridden my better judgment. The messages, they were sickeningly sweet, filled with promises and shared jokes, a world away from the strained politeness that had become our daily routine. I confronted him that night. He denied it at first, a clumsy, pathetic attempt to gaslight me. Said it was just a friend from work. Then, when I showed him the messages, the charming facade crumbled. He admitted it, an affair, a mistake that shattered my life into a million pieces. We separated shortly after. I moved into this cramped apartment, barely big enough for Lily and me. The house, the beautiful house we had bought together, filled with promises of forever, now felt like a poisoned memory. At first, Mark was almost cooperative. He agreed to a visitation schedule, even offered to help with the bills. I thought naively that maybe we could salvage some semblance of civility for Lily's sake. Then the lawyers got involved. He lawyered up first, of course. A shark named Deborah who specialized in high net worth divorces. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. I was portrayed as unstable, emotional, financially irresponsible. He demanded primary custody of Lily, claiming I couldn't provide for her. That's when Emily dragged me to Liam's office. Liam was seasoned. He had seen it all, his eyes holding a weary wisdom that both reassured and frightened me. He listened patiently as I recounted the past few months, his expression unchanging. He's going to play dirty, Sarah. Be prepared, he said, his voice flat. He was right. The custody exchanges became battlegrounds. Mark would arrive late, his face tight with resentment. He'd make snide comments about my apartment, about my parenting. He started questioning everything: my job, my friends, even the way I dressed Lily. The simmering resentment finally boiled over last week. It was a Sunday afternoon. I was dropping Lily off after my weekend with her. She was clinging to me, her little face buried in my neck, refusing to let go. Mark was waiting in the driveway, pacing impatiently. Come on, Sarah, I don't have all day, he snapped. Lily started to cry, loud, piercing wails that tugged at my heart. She doesn't want to go with you, Mark. Can't you see that? I said, my voice trembling. She's fine. Stop coddling her, he retorted, reaching for Lily. I instinctively pulled her closer. Don't talk to me like that in front of her. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I upsetting your delicate sensibilities? He sneered. The fight escalated quickly. I can barely remember the words, just the rising tide of anger, the feeling of being suffocated by his contempt. And then he yelled, not at me, at Lily. Stop crying, God, you're so annoying, he roared, his face contorted with rage. Lily screamed, a terrified, heart-wrenching sound that echoed through the quiet street. I froze. Don't you ever yell at her like that, I screamed back, my voice raw with fury. He lunged at me, grabbing my arm. You're the one who's upsetting her, I tried to pull away, but he held on tight, his grip bruising. He shoved me backwards hard. I stumbled, hitting my head against the side of the car. Pain exploded in my skull. I saw stars. Get out of here, Sarah, you're a mess, he shouted, his eyes wild. I scrambled to my feet, grabbed Lily and ran. I didn't stop running until I was back in my apartment, the door locked, Lily clutched tightly in my arms. That night, I called the police. Detective Miller was surprisingly kind. She listened to my story without judgment, her expression serious and concerned. She took pictures of my bruises, of the bump on my head. She assured me they would investigate. The protective order was issued the next day. Mark was ordered to stay away from me and Lily. It was a small victory, but it felt like a lifeline. Now, everything was a mess. The custody case was dragging on, each hearing a fresh round of accusations and lies. Mark was claiming self-defense, painting me as the aggressor. He had hired a private investigator who was digging into my past, looking for anything to use against me. Liam was doing his best, but he was fighting an uphill battle. Mark had money, resources. I had Emily and a dwindling bank account. And then there was the car. A late model SUV, practically brand new. We had bought it together, a symbol of our growing family. Now it was just another point of contention. Mark wanted it, of course. He claimed it was his, that he had made most of the payments. Liam said we could fight for it, but it would cost money, time, energy. Money I didn't have. Time I needed to spend with Lily. Energy I needed to focus on surviving. But the car, it wasn't just about the money. It was about everything. It was about the road trips we had taken, the memories we had made. It was about the life I had lost. This morning, I received a text from Liam. Judge wants to discuss asset division, specifically the car, meeting next week. I took another sip of my lukewarm coffee, the bitterness coating my tongue. What was I supposed to do? Give up, let him win, or fight, even if it meant risking everything? My phone buzzed again. It was Emily. Hey, just checking in. How are you holding up? I stared at the screen, tears welling in my eyes. I don't know. I typed back, my fingers trembling. I just don't know. The truth was, I was terrified. Terrified of Mark, terrified of the legal system, terrified of failing Lily. But I also knew that I couldn't give up. Not now, not ever. I had to fight, for Lily, for myself. Even if it meant losing everything else along the way. The meeting with the judge was a sterile affair. Judge Thompson, a woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper demeanor, listened intently as Liam and Deborah presented their arguments. Mark sat beside Deborah, his face carefully composed, a mask of wounded innocence. I sat next to Liam, my stomach churning with anxiety. Deborah argued that Mark deserved the car because he had made the majority of the payments and it was essential for his work. Liam countered that the car was a marital asset, acquired during the marriage, and that Sarah needed it more, as she used it to transport Lily to daycare and appointments. Judge Thompson listened patiently, occasionally asking clarifying questions. Finally, she turned to me. MS. Walker, do you have anything to add? I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. Your Honor, the car, it's not just about the money, it's about the principle. Mark, he abused me. In front of our daughter. He doesn't deserve anything. Mark's face flushed red. Deborah shot him a warning glance. Judge Thompson raised an eyebrow. MS. Walker, I understand your feelings, but this hearing is about asset division. I need to make a decision based on the facts and the law. I felt a wave of despair wash over me. The law. It was all about the law, not about justice, not about right and wrong. The judge adjourned the hearing, promising to issue a ruling next week. Outside the courthouse, Emily was waiting for me. She wrapped me in a tight hug. How did it go? She asked, her voice full of concern. I don't know, Em. I just don't know, I said, tears streaming down my face. A week later, the ruling came. Judge Thompson awarded Mark the car. She acknowledged the abuse allegations, but stated that they were separate from the asset division. She ordered Mark to pay me a lump sum as compensation for my share of the car's value. It felt like a slap in the face. Mark had won. Again. I spent the next few days in a daze, barely able to function. Emily stayed with me, helping me care for Lily, making sure I ate, reminding me that I wasn't alone. Then one afternoon, Detective Miller called. MS. Walker, we've reviewed the evidence in your assault case. We're filing charges against Mr. Walker. Assault and battery and endangering the welfare of a child. I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. What does that mean? I asked, my voice trembling. It means we believe you, MS Walker. We're going to hold him accountable. The trial was grueling. Mark's lawyer, a slick, well-dressed man named Mr. Harding, was relentless. He attacked my credibility, questioned my motives, and tried to paint me as a liar and a gold digger. I took the stand, my hands shaking, and recounted the events of that day. I described Mark's anger, his violence, the fear I felt for Lily. Maria, our babysitter and elderly neighbor, testified. She had seen Mark yelling that day. She confirmed my story. Then it was Mark's turn. He denied everything. He claimed I had attacked him, that he was only defending himself. He portrayed himself as a loving father, a successful businessman, a victim of my false accusations. Chloe, Mark's former mistress, was called as a witness. I had dreaded this moment, picturing her as a glamorous, heartless woman who had destroyed my marriage. But when she took the stand, she looked different. She seemed nervous, almost afraid. Mr. Harding asked her about her relationship with Mark. She admitted to the affair but said that it was over. Then Liam asked her about Mark's temper. Did you ever see Mr. Walker lose his temper? He asked, his voice calm but firm. Chloe hesitated. Yes, she said softly. He could get angry. Sometimes scary, Mr. Harding objected, but the judge overruled. Liam pressed on. Did you ever see him be violent? Chloe looked down at her hands. Once, she said, her voice barely a whisper. He pushed me. During an argument, a gasp rippled through the courtroom. Mark's face was ashen. The jury deliberated for 2 days. Finally, they reached a verdict. Guilty. Guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted in cheers. I burst into tears, relief flooding through me. Mark was led away in handcuffs. The next few months were a blur. Mark was sentenced to probation and mandatory anger management classes. The judge granted me sole custody of Lily. It wasn't a perfect ending. The scars of the abuse, the betrayal would always be there, but I was free, and Lily was safe. The car remained a symbol of the past. I never saw it again. I used the money Mark paid me to buy a used minivan, practical and safe. One evening, as I was driving Lily home from daycare, I saw a familiar figure walking down the street. It was Chloe. I pulled over. "Chloe," I called out. She turned around, her eyes widening in surprise. "Sarah," she said softly. We stood there for a moment in silence. I wanted to thank you," I said, "for what you did in court." She shrugged. "It was the truth. I know it wasn't easy," I said. "No," she said. "It wasn't." We talked for a while about Mark, about the choices we had made, about the pain we had both endured. "He's not a good person, Sarah," she said. "I'm sorry for what he did to you." "I know," I said, "but I'm okay, and Lily's okay. That's all that matters." As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror. Chloe was still standing there, watching me go. I didn't feel anger towards her anymore, just a strange sense of empathy. We were both victims of the same man. I pulled into my driveway, turned off the engine, and looked at Lily in the backseat. She was sleeping peacefully, her face angelic in the soft light. I smiled. We were safe. We were free, and that was enough.